South Carolina is back in business, and with restaurants and hotels trying to keep up with customer demand, finding steady employees has been a major hurdle. Joining us to talk about this catch-22 that business owners are finding themselves in is Jeff Diehl, Director of Operations for Charleston Hospitality Group. And Jeff, it's good to see you. You know, we're hearing from a lot of businesses that they just don't have time for time because here they are having to, a lot of business owners are having to run their own restaurants, for instance, because they can't find any staff. Is this something that you've been witnessing yourself?
So, of course, yeah. In the past, Charleston has historically been a difficult city with all these restaurants to be able to source people to help run them, to pay them. And even more so now with the pent-up demand and people returning to Charleston. Everybody's having to backfill positions. So we're finding our managers cooking, our cooks washing dishes, our dishwashers, running garbage, and not enough people to backfill all the spaces. So it's been incredibly difficult. Sure has.
Yeah, and when you talk about just this pent-up demand, it's true because people have been locked in their houses. They're ready to go back out into the world. They want to have a good time. They want someone else to cook them a meal, for one thing, but what are some of the other reasons? Because what we're also understanding is because during this time of COVID and with the stimulus payments and things like that, some people were actually getting paid more than what their hours rendered. And so
yes, they are
seeing somewhat of a, I don't want to say complacency necessarily, but they're kind of seeing, they're getting more on this end. Why do I even need to work so hard?
Yeah, and that's you can't blame human nature, right? If I can make more money while doing less work, that's a pretty common thought. So yes, I do have people who used to work for our company who we have called and said, please come back. We need the help. We'd love you back. And they're telling us, Jeff, I make more money to go to the beach all week than I do working with you. And how do you compete against that? How do you compete against that? We're in the business of serving food and beverages, of course, and profitably. We're also in the business of solving problems. So we're finding that we're having to shift from what we used to be able to rely on as a go-to and find other sources of people who are looking for jobs. And there's certainly no shortage of people looking for jobs. There's plenty of people that need work, that want to earn money, that want to provide for their families. Right. We just aren't able to use our traditional sources to find those people to come to work.
What's a message that you'd like to tell those people who are enjoying their days on the beach that these stimulus payments, they're not going to last forever. And in the meantime, people will be taking those positions and those positions won't always be available.
Correct. So I would love to believe that our industry is full of employees who look long term, who are planning a life and, I want to do this and I want to go to school and then I want to find this job, start a family, build a career. And generally speaking, the restaurant business, I was like this when I was, 22, 23 years old, is a very short-term thinking. I make my money today or this week. I want to buy this with it and then I'll start over again next week. So using a logical reason to find work now, or even a latent threat of, hey, if you don't, you won't have a job, it kind of falls on deaf ears sometimes. And that's, again, human nature. That's going to happen.
True. That is true. Have you been involved in any job fairs lately? Have you been out there actively seeking employees?
So what we're finding is very similar to about 15 years ago when what we call, the blue collar workforce was so small because 15 years prior to that, everyone went to school to get their MBA, to have an office job, and there was no one left to build the offices, to build the superstructures. So then welders, for example, started making $30, $40, $50 an hour just to go to work. Yeah. We're finding the same thing in our industry, is that we're having to source non-restaurant, non-hospitality, non-food service, non-accommodations people and train them in our industry. So, for example, we've had to open up what we call Toast University, which is prior to going into one of our restaurants, we can literally find somebody with a great attitude and a decent work ethic and reliable, transportation or whatever, teach them how to work in a restaurant and then put them into our stores, even if they've never set foot in a restaurant kitchen or dining room prior to that day.
In the hospitality industry, it is not for everybody, and it is one of the most difficult jobs you can have out there. Just real quick, with a few seconds left, can you tell everybody who is part of the Charleston Hospitality Group and what jobs are currently open right now that you're currently seeking for employees?
Yeah, so I hate to say the everything position, but we have anything from dishwasher to bar backs to busboys to servers to bartenders to assistant managers to general managers and everything in between. We really do have over of our 427 available positions in our company that we need to have staffed. We have 122 of them currently vacant. So
Jeff,
we are running short-staffed.
Let's leave it there. We're going to put your website up there for people to apply. I want to thank you so much for sharing all this information with us.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Great to see you. We're back after this.